Good day everyone, and welcome to this video where we're going to go over our next lesson in using Microsoft Excel, where we're looking at formatting cells. We'll click on the assignment here, go to the SimNet page, and download our file. Once we get to the assignment page, click the Start File. That'll get downloaded. Now you have it. Go ahead and open up that file. And you see it opening now. It was in my Downloads folder. Now I'm opening it. We have to enable editing to be able to do anything with this file. You see we have one worksheet in our workbook. I'm going to go over here and click on the zoom area so that I can increase the zoom so it's easier to see here on the video. Alright, we have one worksheet. It's about the semester budget, and we have 4 different areas it looks like. We've got what our income is coming in, our expenses, our available income after our expenses. We see expenses here. Here's our monthly income. Here's our expenses for the month and for the semester. And we have our semester expenses here, and we can see the fields that are there. And it looks like the semester length is 4 months. That would be 16 weeks. That is traditional. All right, let's go back over and take a look at our file. All right, so we've got our instructions for our file here. Scroll on down. These are the skills we're going to go through and looking at undoing and redoing whenever we want to perform an action or take that action away if we've made a mistake, or if we want to redo that action again. Merging cells, applying cell styles to cell or a group of cells, adding shading with or backfill. We got bold, italic, and underline into our cells. Cutting, copying, pasting, inserting, deleting cells, using the Format Painter, one of my favorite tools. Applying conditional formatting, another of my favorite tools. Wrapping text in cells so we can actually see all of the text that's in a cell or all the values that are in a cell. And adding borders. Okay, let's take a look at our steps that we're going to complete. First step is open a Smart File. Yeah, we already did the Start File. Yay! And we enabled editing because it was a protected workbook, and we didn't go in our Trust Center settings and change that because there's no need to right now. Next, we actually have a step to do. Center and merge the title across cells A1 to E1. So we're going to go select our cells A1 to E1. So that would be here to here, and we're going to make all this one cell. So I'm going to click and drag from cell A1 all the way over to cell E1, release my left click on my mouse. I'm going to merge and center that. Well, that is in the Home tab where we're at. And on the ribbon we come over to the assignment group, and we're going to click the merge and center button. We do have a lot of options here, but what we do want to select is merge and center, and that's always going to be there. So we'll go ahead and click that button. And now this hovers over the borders from A1 to E1. Our text is not floating. It is completely centered because there's no longer a B1, C1, D1, or E1. As you can see in the name box, whenever you try clicking there, it's all now cell A1. All right, now that we've done that, we're going to perform our next step. And as you can see, as I check the box off, we're ready to now apply the heading 1 cell style to that merged group of cells A1 to E1. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to now apply the heading 1 cell style from the Home tab. We're still on there. We come on over to the Styles group. We drop down the arrow, which is not wanting to do for some weird reason. Well, I'll just scroll on down. As we hover over there, there's heading 1. Now it gets applied. You can see as you hover over other styles, what will happen. Alright, so we've done that. We're going to go on to our next step, which we've just completed our 4 steps. So I'm going to check that off. Now it says merge and center the 4 section titles across those appropriate cells. Those 4 groups we just looked at. Monthly income, available income, monthly expenses, and semester expenses. And we're going to merge and center each of those sections. So as we come back over, monthly income, merge and center. I click and drag available income over to the next cell so it's above its 2 groups there. We hit merge and center. Now a little trick to do is instead of going back up there once I've performed an action, as I click and drag over these next 2 cells, I'm going to hit the F4 key on my keyboard, and that saves me a step. Just a nice little shortcut to know. I'm going to hit save because I've performed a few actions here. go back and take a look and see what our next step is. Step 6 says apply cell styles to those 4 section titles as follows. Monthly income, we're going to do a cell style of green accent 5. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I'm going to select monthly income. That's in cell A2 as we see in the name box there. I'm going to come over to my styles group and there, work this time for me. Remember, we're going to select green accent 5. Our second group was going to be available income in our steps there. So if we take a look at those real quick, we'll see that we do have those other 3 to do. We're going to do available incomes, orange accent 2, monthly expenses, gray accent 6, and semester expenses, ice blue accent 1. So we'll just be able to remember those and perform those simple steps because we're just redoing the steps with different choices in our styles group. So with available income selected, I'm going to select orange accent 2. And this looks orange, and there it says accent 2. There's my orange accent 2. Monthly expenses was next. I'm going to select gray accent 6 this time. So there's gray accent 6. And now these are starting to look a little bit easier on the eyes. When we open up this workbook, we'll know exactly what's in each of these sections. And then with semester expenses, as we drop down our styles options here, this one was ice blue accent 1, and there is the blue, ice blue accent 1. Alright, I'm going to save that, come back over to our directions, check these off as we move on to the next step. Part 7, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We're going to add the gray accent 6 lighter 80% fill color or background color to the cells A3 through B3. And it's the last color in the second row under theme colors. So we're just going to select these cells A3 to B3, and then we're going to go up and choose fill color in our font group on the home tab, and we're going to select gray accent 6 lighter 80%. Let's go ahead and do that now. So remember, we are going to select A3 to B3. And we're going to come up to our home tab, font group. Here's our fill color. Drop that option down. And we're going to select gray accent 6 lighter 80%. So that wasn't too difficult, pretty simple. And now we can see that we have our subheaders here for this group of cells, not a table, but a group of cells. And now we can see that these are the header titles for the data that's underneath them for our monthly income section. All right, let's come back over to our steps and we'll see what our next step is. Now we're going to bold those cells. So all the content that's in cells A3 to B3 that we just worked with, we're going to just bold those. And we can do those a couple different ways, of course. The shortcut is on your keyboard just to hit Control B. Or you can just come up to the Home tab, Font Group, and there's the bold object right there. And as I hover over it, you can see it says, hey, if you want to use a shortcut, just press Control on your keyboard and the B key. So I'm going to hit there. Now this really stands out. And we're going to take a look at our next step, and we can easily see what our data is in each of these groups, or at least in our monthly income group now. Alright, now that we've bolded those cells, step 9, copy only the formatting of cells A3 to B3 that we just worked with to the headers in the other 3 sections. And here are those cell addresses. So we'll go back over there, and we're going to copy just that formatting and apply that to those other cells in those 3 groups. So I'm going to select expense, or actually with these selected, this is where we're going to use the Format Painter button. Whatever is in here, any formatting, it's going to be copied and applied anywhere we select our cells at. And we could do this one at a time by just clicking the Format Painter button, but since we know we're going to do 3 other areas, what we're going to do is we're going to double click Format Painter. Now it's going to stay, you can see the icon has changed to a plus sign and a paintbrush. It's going to stay that way until we come back up and deselect Format Painter. So I can click and drag expense to amount there, You can see the formatting is exactly the same as here. And I can do the same thing here and there. It would do the same thing anywhere I click. And here's where we can undo something, because we don't want to do that, right? We don't want that all to be the same. We only want it here, 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 and here to have that formatting. So I'm going to come back up here, click Format Painter, and make sure that's deselected. It actually deselected when I hit the undo button because I was just using that for demonstration purposes of how to undo. Which is always up here in our quick access toolbar that you can always modify. Alright, I'm going to save this because I haven't saved in a while. Come back over and look at our next steps and see what we're working with in this next group of steps. Here we go. We've done this. Now we're going to look at this next step. The line item for lab fees, cell A21 to B21, is in the wrong category. Oh no! We're going to cut the cells A1 or A21 to B21 and then insert them into cells D13 to E13, shifting the other cells down once we put that data in there. Do not overwrite the existing data. And then it says, next step shows right here, delete those empty cells that you took away that were the original A21 and B21 and shift those cells, any data that's below them, up to fill that void. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we're going to scroll down here to A21. We're also going to select B21, so just click and drag to select those two cells. But we're going to cut those, and you can either hit the shortcut key on your keyboard, the Control key plus the X key to cut, or you can come up here to the Home tab once again, Clipboard Group, and select Cut. And you can see as I hover over that, it says, hey, shortcut for this is Control X, if you want to remember that later on to save some time. So we select that, or you hit Control X on your keyboard. Now you can see it's got that racetrack of dashes going around, chasing themselves in an endless loop, and they'll never catch each other. So now that shows that we have cut some items. And now we want to go over and insert them into cell D13 and E13 right here. Select those two cells. Right click on them. And we're going to insert those cut cells. Now it says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And if so, how do you want to do this? Do you want to shift cells to the right, or do you want to shift cells down? We want to keep books and transportation, so we want to shift cells down. We hit OK, and it bumps everything down, and now we have our lab fees there. So if I hit undo up here to see that again, you can see this group in A22 down is not affected. It just clears this out, inserts it, and bumps that data down. Nothing to it. Now remember, we need to get rid of these two cells now. So we select those cells, and it depends on how you want to do it. You can delete them. I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit delete. And now we are prompted once again with the delete dialog box. It says, hey, do you want to shift cells right, up, entire row and column? You want to delete an entire row and a column? We want to shift everything that's been deleted from below it up. So we keep that, we hit OK, and there's our data. So nothing changed. Everything looks good now. And we have the data over here that's supposed to be in this group. So we did exactly what our customer wanted us to do. We'll check those off. Scroll on down here in step 12. It says, hey, in cell E6, it has the wrong number format applied. Copy the formatting from cell E5 and apply it to cell E6. Alright, sounds easy enough. Let's do that. So we come on over, we look at cell E6, column E, row 6. Yep, that definitely stands out because the dollar sign's way over here. There's a bunch of white space in between. So right here, if we look, we can come up to the number group on the Home tab. So Home tab, number group, and we can see what's being used is the currency number format. Well, we want the number format to match what's above it in cell E5. So we're like, okay, we definitely see a difference between these. I want to copy this format down to here, but I don't want to change the value. So I'm going to grab the fill handle on the bottom right corner of cell E5. You see your mouse changes, the mouse cursor changes to plus sign. Click, hold that, drag that down, release it, and you're like, oh no, where'd it go? Well, you'll notice that we have the autofill options box right here. Drop down that arrow and say fill format only. Once we do that, our number is going to reappear and it's going to be in the correct accounting format. There it is. We can see that we've now changed to the accounting format just like above. If we undo, you see we're using the currency format. We really want to use the accounting format, so that's what we did. I'm going to redo that. And now it looks uniform to the way everything else was formatted. And hit save. Come back over, look at our directions, and see what is awaiting us next. Mark that off, and we're on step 13. Apply conditional formatting. I love conditional formatting. This definitely helps in formatting our cells to make sure that some things are really noticeable and not just these boring cells of just black and white numbers and text. So we're going to do some conditional formatting to the cells B11 through B23. Alright, that's once we see a group of cells like that, that says, hey, let's go look at those cells. So B11 to B23, and then we're going to do some conditional formatting on those. So let's go ahead and select those cells. B11 all the way down to B23. This group of cells. And conditional formatting is found once again on the Home tab. We're going to come over to our Styles group once again, and here's conditional formatting where we can highlight cells, sort by, make sure that we have cells step out that are our top or bottom of a certain percentage or number. We've got data bars that can represent the data in the cells, color scales, icon sets. These can be really fun to use for understanding your data a little bit better. All of these, that's what this whole bit is for. And we can manage those rules if we have some. If there's some that's been done, we can highlight cells and clear those rules. Just a fun area to be in and really helps formatting of your cells and your data for some data analysis, and especially with a visual representation. So let's take a look and see what we're going to be doing with that conditional formatting. We are going to display a red gradient data bar, so we're going to use the data bars in our conditional formatting. We want to display a red gradient data bar in each of our cells where the data exists. Alright, so we're going to cut conditional formatting here in the Styles group. We're going to use data bars, and it said a gradient red, so we're going to go to gradient, and the very first one is the red data bar. So as you hover over these, you can see how they look, and a lot of times we want to stick with what our customer, what colors they like, especially if it's for a company that has certain colors, or if it's just a theme that's been selected for our workbook, we want to keep colors that are coordinate with that theme. So for this one, we are going to do the red gradient data bar. So we come back up here, gradient, not solid. You can see that is purple, this is red, this is the one you want to choose. And we can see the largest value is $1,200. The smallest value, of course, there's no data bar there where there's nothing there. And a tiny sliver is right here at 20. So it shows how the data relates to each other. And now when we look at those, we pop it open, we can say, oh, most of your money is going to rent. You're not really spending much in medical, dental, and vision, and no other loans exist that you're paying on. So we can see where your money is mostly being spent at. Let's take a look at your student loans. Right, there's nothing we can do with that. The next largest one is groceries. All right, is there anything we can do to cut back on groceries, like maybe making some of the stuff at home, like a dry mix for your hamburger helper stuff, rather than you buy in, $2-3 a box for these. We can make the dry mix for about 38 cents. I only say that as an example because I do that. So that's how we can look at our expenses and know where our money's going. We say, oh, okay, well, $250 in entertainment. Let's look at that deeper and maybe see where we can cut our monthly expenses in that. Rent, maybe rent is, we want to find something that's less than $1,200 a month. So this is how we see a visual representation that allows us to do a little analysis on this group of data. Alright, so we've got that done. Now we're at step 14. We're going to look at the text in cell A21. Alright, cell A21. I can do that. And it looks like it's been cut off. We want to be able to see all that stuff. We're going to wrap the text in that cell so that we can see all that text that we can't currently see. Okay, as I look at cell A21, medical, dental, and vision exp. But if I click on that cell, look at the formula bar, especially we need to see medical, dental, and vision expenses. Alright, we definitely can't see that, but we're going to fix that. So we're going to format this cell. In the Format Cells dialog box, there's a ton of ways to get there. So I'm a right clicker, so I typically will right click in cell and then select Format Cells. That gets me there, the Format Cells dialog box, where I have these tabs: number, alignment, font, border, fill, and protection of the cells. Another way I can do that is I can come up to the number group here on the Home tab, and I can click the expansion box. I can also do it here on the alignment. We get to the same area. Look at that. All the same tabs. I can also come up to the cells group on the Home tab, go to Format, and you guessed it, down here at the bottom, Format Cells, gives me the exact same Format Cells dialog box. It is completely up to you as to how you launch the Format Cells dialog box. But once we do it, in the Alignment tab, we want to come down to Text Control Group and select Wrap Text. Once we hit OK, we'll see this cell change where the cell text is on more than one line, so we can see everything. We hit OK. Now we can see that what we couldn't see before because of where it was cut off, that gets moved down to the next line, and the height of our row is changed. Nothing else was affected, only this row. Alright, so we have looked at how to wrap text. Our next step is we're going to apply the default all borders border style to the cells A3 to B7, D3 to E7, A10 to B24, and D10 to E16. Now to do this, we're going to apply these all borders. We can do it all in one. We can copy the formatting, or we can do them individual groups. So if we select A3 to B7 to apply those all borders, we'll see how that looks. Scroll on up here, I'm going to click and drag from A3 down to B7. That's my first group. Now remember, I want to do the border style, so if I come up to the fonts group, here's my borders. If I drop this down, the one that we were supposed to choose that was asked of us by our customer is all borders, so we scroll down, hey, there's all borders. If I click that, now I can see that there. One way we can do the rest of these, we could use Format Painter. What I like to do is the non-adjacent skill cell, where we click and drag our next group. So if you recall from our steps, we know just by looking at what we just did what we need to do for the other three groups. But remember, it was D3 to E7, and that would be right here, D3 to E7. I'm going to hold, now that I've selected those, I'm going to hold the Control key on my keyboard, and I'm going to go over and select the next group, A10 down to B24, and then I'm going to hold my Control key again, click and drag from D10 down to E16, release. Now I've got all three of those selected. I'm going to hit the all borders, and it gets applied to those three groups of cells. That's that non-adjacent cell. Definitely is something you should look at and know that it's very easy to use. You're going to use it tons of time. So use that Control key, just click and drag what cells you want, then hold the Control key, click and drag two other cells or however many cells, release the mouse, release the Control key. If you want some more cells, click the Control key, click and drag, and whatever you do, it's going to apply to all those cells that you have selected. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to come back over, look at my directions. Looks like I'm done. Before I do anything, I want to make sure I've done every single thing. So as we look through here, we make sure that everything was checked off and that we did every single step all the way to the end. But that is it. Save and close your workbook. Come back up to the top. You're ready to upload your file. So you'll click your upload your file, select it, and then submit it for grading. After I selected the file and hit upload my file, it asks, are you sure you want to do this? I'm going to hit yes. It's going to submit. We're going to see what happens because you're going to get instant results to let you know how you did, what you missed, and what you need to fix. Now this image here just lets you know what the correct file should look like. And this looks pretty similar to what we just completed. So this is not what you submitted. This is what the correct work should look like. My zoom's up, that's why we couldn't see everything. If I decrease the zoom, we see that we didn't miss anything. We got all 15 of the steps correct, but if I'd missed something, it'd be listed here, and I could click on partial or incorrect to see what I missed. And you can see that you can expand the steps, and it will tell you, like if this was 0 out of 1, I expand that, and I can see part 3 I missed, center and merge the cells across cell A1 to E1. I look for 3A over here. There's 3A, and I can see that this is the step. This is how it should have looked. So that's it. Hope you found this video helpful. Good luck as you complete your work and the rest of your work. Take care, everyone.